All right. Appreciate everybody coming this morning. Your time's valuable, and we're glad to have you here. I'm going to do a little different this year. Normally, I kind of talk about the day a little bit and what we're going to talk about, but I think it's important to talk about DYNICS and why we do what we do. Our focus is on creating solutions that our customers need. We're not here to produce stuff for the sake of producing it or because we think we can sell a ton of it. Our leadership team comes from a manufacturing background. We didn't start in other industries and other verticals and come to manufacturing like, hey, you know what? Industrial control systems and industrial cybersecurity, that's going to be a $27 billion business, and we should jump right in that. No, we started here. It's what we do. We're plant floor people, right? We're manufacturers who serve manufacturing and industry. Over the last couple of years, and as Ed was talking about, our product lines and where DYNICS started, we've really begun to develop a line of products that goes from the shop floor to the top floor, right? And that's a bit cliche because you hear that a lot, but if you look at our product offering, you're going to find that we have quite an offering, right? Now we're not here to be Rockwell Automation. We're not here to be Schneider Electric. We're not here to be Siemens. We're here to provide products and solutions that fall within our wheelhouse. It's within our expertise, within our understanding of the plant floor. Ed mentioned top compute platforms, industrial graded displays, HMIs, visualization tools, data collection, cybersecurity solutions. So there's quite a variety of tools we have. The other thing that's important, I think, to note is we don't claim to be the silver bullet for OT cybersecurity. We don't claim to have all the answers. But what we do claim, and we'll stomp our foot and tell you, is we have a comprehensive solution that covers a lot of bases and solves customer problems. Some of those solutions have their origins back in critical manufacturing starting in 2012. So we've been at this a while. Some of those things are still in production today and haven't had a firmware upgrade. So that's pretty good legacy. I can't think of many other companies in the OT cybersecurity space who can make that claim, right? Our focus, and the focus of the teams that I lead in general, is investing and enhancing the customer experience. That's our core focus, right? And to do that, we've got a new US-based support portal you're going to hear about today. We've got a unified support system where we've collapsed all of our various support entities into a single organization, single point of contact, and from that single point of contact, your request, question, need for support gets to the appropriate place. We're committed to developing exceptional training, right? We've got a training manager who does just that. He puts courses together, they get reviews. I was in training. I started my career in a training department for Modicon in 1986. I've done training, I've written courses. And I can tell you without a doubt, some of the courses that Ryan puts together and the feedback we get from customers is because it's application specific. It's how do I solve it and how do I fix it specific, get fantastic reviews. And he's continuing to lead that team and develop that courseware, and that's important to us. Online documentation. You're going to hear guys talk about this today. I beat the stick on this. It is critical that when we launch products, we have comprehensive documentation that a guy can pick it up and start using the tool without having to wander through it in frustration. So we've started that with the first product, Fusion, and you're going to see the results of that effort today. That's important. Our software development systems, right, from a housekeeping perspective, we've made significant improvements in software development, coding standards, building pipelines, continuous improvement in our automated testing systems, so that when we release a product and we put it out the door to you folks, it works the way we said it works, how it's supposed to work, okay? Why do we do that? We've recognized through introspection and thoughtfully and fortunately, we have a customer base who is more than happy to help us where we fall short of their expectations by relaying that to us in a often kind and occasionally less than kind manner, but always appreciated, right? That's how we grow. That's that feedback loop, right? Without that feedback loop, we're only as good as the problems we perceive or the solutions we perceive. So that feedback loop for us is critical. Largely DYNICS growth has been organic. positive, word of mouth. Why is that? It's because we're makers, not marketers, okay? We're really good at making things. We have been less than exciting at marketing things. We've brought in a company called the Influencer Collective. They understand what we're doing, and they're doing a great job of getting us out there and letting people know, other than by word of mouth. I mean, if you look at the size of DYNICS and what we've done and what we've accomplished, the fact that we're doing that largely by word of mouth is pretty tremendous, right? So our goal is to increase that by actually putting a marketing presence out there and really letting people know the products we have. I'm so tired of sitting in a meeting with somebody who's been a DYNICS partner for 5-10 years, and we show them the cybersecurity stuff or some of the software, and they go, I didn't know you did that. All I thought you guys did was PCs. No, right? And that's our fault. We understand and we need to get the job done and get that information out there. We've brought on Chris Gibbs, right? He's in the back raising his hand. Chris is our Chief Revenue Officer. His goal is to take our business into markets that we aren't in, verticals that we don't have a significant amount of experience in. Those verticals that we do, we understand really well. Those verticals that we haven't traditionally been in, Chris's job is to help us understand those verticals. One of those verticals that we're getting into, and you're going to hear from Jared Ashbridge today. He's the CTO for Genesee County Drain Commission Division of Water and Wastewater Management. Did I get that right? I hear that name, everybody says it different. It's always a different name. But so they're using DYNICS products. They've been using the ICS Defender platform now for a while. They're using it to tie in all their disparate systems. They're moving into our software-defined networking solution, as well as potentially Fusion if it meets some of the needs that they have. That's a vertical we haven't been in before. But what Jared will tell you is that we ask a lot of questions because we want to understand that vertical. We don't just want to come in and tell Jared, here's what you need. It's more like, what's your problem? What's not working the way you want it to? What's your top 5 things that you need fixed? And then we have a solution that's scalable enough and adjustable and adaptable enough to meet that. So at our annual event today, we've got the opportunity to showcase our achievements from the last year, what we've done to our integration partners, distribution partners, customers. We also welcome your guidance, as I mentioned, right? Where are areas we need to focus? Where can we improve our products to help you solve your problems? Where can we improve our products to make ourselves better in doing so? And again, I appreciate everybody's time this morning. Your time is valuable, so spending the time with us is great. And hopefully today, hopefully you walk out of here today with a good understanding or an impression of DYNICS that maybe you didn't have before, and that you see a breadth or width of product offering that you didn't understand we had. From a housekeeping perspective, out the door, hang a right, bathrooms, all the way down the wall on the right side. You'll get to the bathrooms. Over here, we're doing something a little different this year than we've done in the past. We normally do a 30-minute lunch and we have someone talking through lunch. We're not doing that today. We're going to have an hour-long lunch. And these stations are set up with our various products. So you can go sit down and dink around with them. Push buttons, play with Fusion, play with the cybersecurity console, play with the software-defined networking. We'll have guys over there that can answer questions and maybe help you through some of this stuff if you want to play with it. I just ask that if there's 2 or 3 people behind you, don't spend the 59 minutes of the 60, please, with your experimentation. We're happy to set you up with any of the software or hardware you need to try it out, kick the tires, and play with it. Okay? That is not an issue. So again, thank you. I appreciate your time, and we'll kick things off. We'll try to take breaks about every 6 hours in case you have a smaller bladder. So we know everybody needs to use the bathroom once a day. Okay, some people twice, I suppose. But all right. So what I want to talk a little bit about first is I think the other thing that we're going to do a little differently this year is a lot of times we spend a lot of time talking about all the minutiae that are capabilities of our various products, and that's great because there's a lot of functionality and a lot of capability. Many of you already understand our products, and those of you online, right? Many of you guys understand our products. Some folks are new, but my goal here is to, thank you, give you a look at the product. It's not going to be a tremendously deep dive because we want to follow up with you and have that conversation more in person, right? But it's to talk about the product as a general solution and maybe what we've done new and what we're going to do with it, okay? So the first thing I want to talk about is our next major release of the Defender platform. The first thing you'll notice is we have a new hardware platform that was just released. There's all kinds of not door prizes on the back table, Dave Smith from Interstates or Marty, and that shows the new platform, right? Also, we have a major software upgrade coming. Adds significant feature sets that I think are pretty amazing and will do a great job in the OT space that we've actually tailored specifically because working with customers and that customer feedback, they've asked for something like this, or how do we do this easier? And so we hope to show you that today. First product you'll see that's new is the Pico. The Pico is about that big. It's the cutest little thing. It's almost as small as our little USB sticks that we give out, right? By the way, there's all kinds of swag on the tables back there. Feel free to take whatever you want. Have some of all of it. So the Pico, small, 2 NICs. That's the only way it comes. It'll run any of the license models we have. So it'll go from the NAT all the way to the Pro. But it's intended for those small places that you just need a simple solution, but that you may want to grow with it, but won't have the physical space. The Nano. We've had the Nano for a while. The difference in the Nano now is we've added an SFP port to the top. So while the previous Nano had 2 RJ45s, this has 2 RJ45s plus an SFP port. SFP ports can obviously be populated with RJ45 SFP modules or fiber, right? Why did we do that? Because we see a lot of customers whose organizations, maybe the IT organization above them, are starting to move towards fiber. And this future-proofs their installation. So they could go with copper today or use the 2 ports that are copper. But if IT comes along and says, you know, we're putting in new switching up above and it's going to have fiber connections and home runs, you've already got something in place that you can just pop the correct SFP and away you go, right? The new Mini, or the updated Mini. So in the past, we had a Mini that had 2 RJ45s, 2 SFPs. Now the Mini comes standard with 4 RJ45s and 2 SFPs. Again, the same reason. We used to have a version called the XL, and in working with most of our customers, nobody used more than about 5 ports. Even our customers that used the most ports on a single unit to anybody was 5 ports. So there was really no point in the additional cost of having 8 on a unit this size. So now we're at 6, which seems to be a good mix for us, right? 4 RJ45 gigabit ports plus 2 SFP in the 24 volt family. You will also notice that we have a rack mount version of this that has 10 ports, 8 RJ45 and 2 SFPs. This is 24 volts or 120 volts. It's a 1U form factor. This is also back on the back table there. And I will admit in public for the world that when this was first broached with me, I said, yeah, it's going to be niche. Nobody is going to buy these 1Us. Everybody wants them in 24 volt form factors on the plant floor in a panel. That's where we do 95% of our business like that. I was wrong. Dave Smith and Ed Gatt get the credit for this idea. And I nearly poo-pooed it. They are becoming extremely popular. And I can only assume that heads towards the trend towards more of a IDF type of enclosure on the plant floor where people are tying things into the enterprise, right? So it's actually become very popular. In fact, it's closing on the Mini is the most popular, which blows my hair back. I just, what I have left anyway. I just can't believe it. But it's a great product. It's extremely performant. In fact, this will outperform any ICS Defender we've ever created in terms of throughput. It's just tremendously fast. Firmware updates. So in the next gen of ICS Defender version 2.5.2, any questions on the hardware side of stuff? If you guys have questions, ask them please. Yes?
The compatibility for this. The SFP ports, could you comment on the compatibility for those?
So they're gigabit only, right? And they can be multi-mode or single mode. They will not backpedal to 10100, okay? They are straight up gigabit.
Just most popular brands it'll work with, Cisco, et cetera. Generic modules.
Yeah, So here's my official DYNICS stance. We only certify those modules for which we have tested and provide them because we've done extensive testing with them. We sell those and you can order them with the units. Some customers pre-install, like Stellantis, for example, they pre-install a specific SFP for their needs. The unofficial answer is probably anything you try will work, okay? Because it's a standard SFP compatibility, so.
Got questions, raise your hand. I'll bring the mic over to you.
Anybody else? All right. WireGuard. Who's heard of WireGuard? Dave, you don't count. Who? All right, you know what, Dave? You get one. I know it. That's why I threw it. If you had a mouthful of coffee, I would have waited. All right. I may ask questions throughout the days. The guys may ask questions throughout the days. We have these really cool. Last year I was throwing things at people and they were arguably more solid than they should have been. So this year the marketing team has restricted me to squishy stress balls, right? And any of us that are in manufacturing industry know that we occasionally have bouts of stress, right? Not often, but occasionally. So a rubber stress ball might be kind of useful in that regard. I better put them right here because we bought a lot of them, so I'm going to be throwing these things like crazy. I will try to give you a heads up that it's coming unless you work for Interstates or Sandalwood. And then just keep your eyes in the air because they could come at any time. So WireGuard is a new VPN technology. In the past, we've supported SSL VPNs. A lot of you use those. We've supported IPsec. Fewer people use that because, let's face it, IPsec is complicated to set up and it's a pain in the butt to manage. And it's just, most corporate enterprises, I bet if you have a client on your laptop, it's an SSL VPN client for your company, right? Because over the course of the years, IT has said, yeah, SSL is secure enough for us. It's fast enough for us. And IPsec is really kind of relegated to sites for larger enterprise organizations. WireGuard intends to beat that. We'll talk more about it. The other thing that's a big change or big feature set for us is we get a lot of people that say, and I'm going to pick on the people I know. So Callian, Taryn, Ken, your name, Sergio, they're going to come up a lot today. So, you know, Callian wants to remote in, but Callian's got admin access to stuff. So he can SSH into a box, whereas, you know, maybe Sergio can't. They don't want him to. So you either have to set up a lot of complex rules on the VPN connections or the interfaces or what have you, or you can use the new per user group dynamic rules, which means that when someone connects either via the captive portal or remote access, you can define rule sets and templates that apply to the users individually or groups of users. So you could have supplier A, when they connect for remote support, they can only get to their piece of equipment because the ICS Defender will dynamically add rules to the configuration while that user's connected. So that it will modify the configuration on the fly to allow that user through. As soon as he logs out, those rules are gone. So you still have your base set of rules. You still have all the stuff you've always done. But now you can say, okay, on this individual VPN connection, if John logs in, he can do this, 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 and not this. If Taryn logs in, he can do this, 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 and not this. Or if Sandalwood, anybody in the Sandalwood group logs in, they have access to their equipment and nobody else's. Because you can build rules on the fly that literally isolate all the stuff out there, okay? So that was a feature that was requested and will be released with 2.5.2. 2.5.2 is imminent. We have a release candidate going through QC right now, or QA. So I would expect a release within a month. New console features. If any of you have ever locked yourself out, or if any of you, which I, to this day, will get me going so fast, I'll get my phone going, and somebody will call me, I'll be interrupted in something, I'll click the wrong button, and all of a sudden I've locked myself out. Right? Callian is smiling, which I think means he's done that too. Yeah. So we've added an option to the console menu that when you go to the console, you can, if you have admin, you can click a button, an option, and it will automatically build a set of WAN rules in the WAN interface that allow you to manage from that interface. So that if you were out, now you're back in, okay? which makes it pretty useful. Captive portal upgrades. There's a lot of captive portal upgrades in here in terms of how captive portal works. We're getting more and more requests for captive portal functionality. A lot of customers want to know how to get, and particularly with the whole COVID work from home thing, everybody's got people that work from home. Nobody wants to get on a plane for 8 hours to go support something. So how do we let people in securely, right? Well, I will argue that we have roughly 3.5 factors of authentication that we can apply, right? And it all mixes and matches depending on what the user wants to do. There's a lot of UI options, a lot of new UI functionality, one of which seems the most simple and craziest thing, and we've backported this to the, it's available in the current version, is you can lock the menu bar at the top. So as you're scrolling down a page, all the menu items actually stay there instead of scrolling up with it. If you've ever scrolled to the bottom of a list of 150 DPI rules for Ethernet IP, and you want to get back to the menu, you're either scrolling back up or hotkeying or doing something else. Now the menu's just locked there. Seems like a simple change, but why we didn't do it, forever and a day ago, I don't know, because it just makes the tool that much easier to use. Another thing that will be in 2.5.2, and we may backport to the 2.3.4 version, it drives me crazy that I can't synchronize my time to my laptop when I log into it. If I can log into something like a Rockwell PLC, hit a button in their software and synchronize the PLC to my laptop just so that it brings it current, why can I not do that with something as technically advanced as the Defender family? That will be happening, right? It's going to, partially because when we talk about DCC later, our cybersecurity console, for you to adopt an ICS Defender, one of the rules that we enforce is that the times are reasonably synced to the console. So you can't adopt a Defender that's got a date and time from 1983 to a DCC console sitting on a box someplace that has a current date and time. It has to be within a small space. Yes, Dave?
If you do that to sync your time, right, to your PC, and let's say you had like NTP settings already in your firewall.
NTP wins.
So that will still stay. It's just kind of a one-time sync, and then it will continue to do it. And
yeah, actually,
if it starts working again, it will continue to work.
Actually, if you've got any of the time synchronization set up to be automatic, you can either block this from allowing this to happen, or you can, are you sure you want to do this? You're going to override the time until we get the next sync from your NTP server. So, good question. All right. So, WireGuard VPN, and I'm going to have to talk fast. I'll probably run over myself. So the biggest advantage is it simplifies the configuration. It's faster than SSL or IPsec, much easier to set up, and has significantly more advanced cryptography. Right? So this is kind of what you might think of. I for the longest time, the top of this slide said the Borg Collective, because that's kind of what WireGuard is. You don't run around and put servers and clients in places. You set up a WireGuard tunnel between whatever defenders you want to participate in that tunnel. Once you do that, any clients you allow access to that tunnel can see each other. Now, they still have all the normal firewall rules that you can enforce, so all of that kind of thing happens. But you don't have to go install clients on things and necessarily spend nearly the amount of time, because the WireGuard tunnel, if you will, takes care of that for you. So for example, if I've got, these 3 devices are participating in the client list, then they can see each other, talk to each other, and do whatever with each other within the scope of whatever rules you've defined, but nobody else can, right? Through that, across that tunnel, right? So, PLC number 5, he could get to 2 or 1, right? 1 or 2 could get to 5. Now 1 and 2 can get to each other anyway because they're in the same broadcast domain below any kind of security appliance. Until you add our SDN control solution. Then it gets much more secure. But if I want to, I can add PL3 as a client, PLC3 as a client, and as soon as I add that to the client list for the WireGuard VPN, it now has access to those devices. Okay? So I don't need to go in and do anything fancy. I don't have to, that PLC doesn't have to have anything specifically on it, right? But I can add it to the client list, and it can have access to the other devices in the client list. and it's all encrypted through that WireGuard tunnel. I could do the same thing. I can add another guy. So basically, I've created, just by adding these guys, so you set up one tunnel, and then you add clients. And then whoever's in the client list, they can talk. Okay? Any questions on WireGuard? Kind of gives you a general idea what it's good for, but there's some really interesting application, right? All right. Rules for users, I kind of talked about that already. You can actually create rules that are specific to users and groups, and they get applied and removed dynamically based on who's connected. Simplifies managing policies and rules. And so those are some of the bigger features coming in the Defender, right? The Defender is the perimeter security appliance. It's designed to do perimeter security. It does IPS, IDS. We've upgraded the IPS, IDS engine significantly. So if you want to do intrusion prevention, intrusion detection, it's in there. We're going to be making improvements and changes this year to the DPI engine, significant improvements. So let's see, who's heard of Rust? Dave, don't raise your hand. You don't get to answer either, you work for me. Anybody else? Good catch. So Rust is everything C ever wanted to be, but secure, right? Extremely performant, extremely low level, completely compatible with existing C binaries and C programming, except it's type safe. It's, have you ever had one of those unhandled errors pop up on a Windows application and it crashes to desktop? Rust finds those at compile time. Okay, that's pretty impressive, among other things. We have several guys on the team who are Rust enthusiasts, and every time I mention how much more we're going to convert to Rust, significant amount of the Defender underpinnings have been converted to Rust, even on the version that you have now, 2.3.4. It's becoming more so with 2.5.2. If you look at NIST and you look at a lot of the big standards bodies, they're all pushing Rust. Google has replaced about 15% of the C and Android OS with Rust. So it's becoming much more prevalent given its inherent security. So we kind of feel like that's the right way to go, and it is extremely performant. So that's another big change you're going to see in the Defenders. Any questions that you have on what I've talked about so far? All good? And I must explain myself awesomely.